Have you ever been stopped by your grandmother saying, "Don't sweep the house after Maghrib"? You probably laughed it off, called it an old superstition or cultural myth. But what if I told you there's a deeper truth behind this advice? A wisdom hidden in both Islamic teachings and spiritual energy that most people overlook. From unseen spiritual movements to the Prophet's emphasis on timing and mindfulness. This simple act might reveal more about your home's barakah's blessing than you ever imagined. Stay with me till the end. Because tonight you discover why our elders were right and what sweeping after Maghrib truly means in Islam. Every culture holds a collection of sayings, customs, and unwritten rules that shape how people live. And one of the most well known among Muslims in South Asian households is the warning, "Don't sweep the house at night." At first glance, this might sound like a harmless superstition or an old wives' tale. But when we look deeper, we find that many of these beliefs were rooted in experience, observation, and spiritual sensitivity. Our elders, even without modern education, lived close to nature and developed a sense of timing for everything, when to eat, when to sleep, and when to perform household chores. Their rulings were not random. They often carried hidden practical and spiritual wisdom. Historically, people lived in homes lit only by lamps or candles. Nighttime meant darkness, limited visibility, and quiet. Sweeping the house after sunset could easily result in losing small valuable items like coins, jewelry, or important papers. So elders naturally discouraged it to prevent loss. Over time, this practical warning transformed into a saying that sweeping at night removes wealth or blessings risk you, symbolizing the idea that being careless during certain times could bring financial or spiritual loss. In addition, ancient societies had a strong belief in the unseen Gabi, something Islam also acknowledges. The time between sunset and nightfall is considered a period when jinn and unseen forces become more active, as mentioned in authentic hadiths. The Prophet Muhammad advised, "When night falls, keep your children close, for the devil spread out at that time." Sahih al-Bukhari. 32 AD, this hadith shows that the period after Maghrib carries spiritual significance and that believers should be cautious and mindful. Thus, elders may have extended this caution into daily life, advising people to avoid unnecessary household activity like sweeping after dark so that the home remains peaceful and spiritually protected. It's also interesting that similar beliefs exist in many parts of the world, not just among Muslims. In old Japanese and African cultures, sweeping at night was said to sweep away good fortune or blessings. This shows that across civilizations, people sensed the connection between timing, energy, and barakah, blessing, even if they expressed it differently. However, Islam teaches us not to confuse culture with creed. While these customs often carry good intentions, they must be measured against the guidance of the Quran and Sunnah. If the reasoning aligns with wisdom, cleanliness, and respect for Allah's creation, it can be valued. But if it leads to fear, exaggeration, or baseless superstition, it should be gently corrected. Our elders may not have quoted hadiths, but their purpose was often the same as the Prophet's, a guidance. To preserve safety, order, and barakah in the home, their cultural expressions were their way of protecting both the physical and spiritual well-being of the family. In truth, the belief about not sweeping at night isn't about fear. It's about mindfulness. It's a call to honor the rhythms of life, respect the transitions of night and day, and remember that every small act, even cleaning, has a time and a purpose in the divine order. Islam, cleanliness is not merely a habit, it is a form of worship. The Prophet Muhammad declared, "Cleanliness is half of faith." So Sahih Muslim, 20th year, this simple yet profound statement reminds us that keeping our homes, bodies, and surroundings clean is directly connected to our relationship with Allah. Every act of cleanliness, when done with the right intention, becomes an act of ibadat as worship. However, Islam also teaches that every action has its proper time and manner. Just as there are blessed times for prayer, dua, charity, there are also wise timings for everyday actions, including cleaning. The faith encourages Muslims to live with balance and awareness, making sure their routines align with the natural rhythm Allah has placed in creation. From the Quran, we learn that Allah loves purity. Indeed, Allah loves those who are constantly repentant and loves those who purify themselves. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:22, this verse highlights that cleanliness is not only external but also internal, a reflection of one's spiritual state. A clean environment supports a clean heart, while disorder or impurity can affect a person's mood, focus, and even their spiritual energy. The Prophet was known for maintaining personal and domestic hygiene meticulously. He would brush his teeth using miswak, wash his hands before and after meals, trim nails regularly, and encourage the cleaning of garments, homes, and paths used by people. However, he also respected the timing of actions, showing that even cleanliness should be practiced with wisdom and moderation. For example, after sunset, the Prophet advised Muslims to bring children indoors and cover food and water containers, mentioning that unseen beings move about during that time. Sahih al-Bukhari 3288. This shows that Islam recognizes the spiritual shifts that occur between day and night. It is not about fear, it's about awareness and protection. In the same spirit, some scholars explain that performing certain activities like sweeping or cleaning late at night might not be haram's forbidden, but could be makruh's disliked if done heedlessly, especially if it leads to neglecting dhikr, prayer or rest. The hours after Maghrib are recommended for worship, family reflection and preparation for Isha and rest. Moreover, cleanliness in Islam is not about appearances alone. It is an act of gratitude for the blessings Allah provides. A clean home invites tranquility, saknah, strengthens family bonds and keeps barakah in the household. The Prophet said, removing harmful things from the path is an act of charity. So Sahih al-Bukhari 2989, this teaching shows that every act of cleanliness, even something as small as sweeping dust or clearing clutter, is valuable when done with sincerity. So when elders advise against sweeping at night, it's not a contradiction to Islam's emphasis on cleanliness. Rather, it's a reminder of timing, respect and mindfulness. Islam wants believers to live purposefully, not mechanically, to clean with gratitude, rest with peace, and remember Allah in every small act, even when holding a broom. Every custom in traditional Muslim culture often carries two layers, a visible practical reason and a hidden spiritual one. The teaching, don't sweep your house at night, is one of those timeless pieces of advice that may sound simple, but behind it lies deep wisdom about energy, balance, and Barakah's blessing. Spiritually, the time between Maghrib and Ishusha is a sacred transition period. The Prophet Muhammad taught that after sunset, unseen beings, the jinn, become active. He has said, when the night falls, keep your children close, for the devil spread out at that time. The Sahih al-Bukhari 3288, this isn't a call to fear, but a reminder to be mindful and spiritually alert during these hours. The world shifts from light to darkness, and the atmosphere changes both physically and spiritually. The believer is encouraged to stay indoors, engage in dhikr, remembrance of Allah, pray Maghrib, and keep the home filled with barakah through the recitation of Quran. In that quiet time, the home should transition from daytime business to nighttime serenity. Sweeping, cleaning, or making noise during these moments can disturb that calm. It's also said that doing such tasks heedlessly, without Bismillah, may metaphorically sweep away blessings. Our elders used this symbolic language to remind families that when we act without remembrance of Allah, even small things can cause loss of barakah. From a practical perspective, the advice made perfect sense in earlier times. Before electric lights existed, sweeping at night could lead to accidentally throwing away small, valuable things, coins, jewelry, or documents that were hard to see in the dark. Elders observed this happening and passed on their wisdom as a warning. Over generations, these lessons evolved into sayings that mixed practicality with spiritual caution. But there's another layer of insight here, a psychological one. Islam encourages believers to end their day with peace, not with chores. The night is meant for rest, family time, reflection, and worship. Sweeping or cleaning at night disrupts that balance. Instead, the Prophet encouraged using the evening hours for ibadah, dhikr, or preparing the mind for sleep, as this strengthens spiritual well-being. Some scholars even interpret the sweeping away of blessings metaphorically. When you spend your nights in worldly tasks instead of reflection, you're not physically removing wealth, but you might be spiritually draining yourself. The home that is filled with peace, remembrance, and gratitude becomes a magnet for barakah, while heedlessness invites restlessness. So while sweeping at night isn't haram or sinful in itself, it's about understanding timing and awareness. The wisdom of our elders wasn't about fear. It was about focus. They wanted homes to remain spiritually calm, clean and blessed, especially after the day's end. In the end, what may sound like superstition actually carries timeless reminders. Protect your peace, honor the transitions of day and night, and keep your home alive with the remembrance of Allah. Because true cleanliness isn't just about removing dust. It's about preserving the light and barakah within your home. In today's modern world, it's easy to dismiss the sayings of our elders as old superstitions. But when we look closer, many of these teachings carry layers of wisdom, born from generations of faith, observation, and experience. Islam teaches us not to reject knowledge simply because it is old, nor to accept it blindly without reflection. The true believer walks the middle path, one guided by faith, logic, and respect for tradition. When our elders said, "Don't sweep your house at night," they weren't trying to scare anyone. They were passing down what they knew to be best, a mix of practical caution and spiritual awareness. Islam too teaches us to live with mindfulness, recognizing that every time and action has its own barakah blessing. While the Quran and Sunnah don't explicitly prohibit sweeping at night, they do emphasize the importance of timing balance, remembrance of Allah in every act. Faith teaches us that life is not only physical but also spiritual. The unseen world, Salam al-Ghaibi, exists. Prophet Muhammad reminded us to be aware of it, especially during certain times such as sunset, when spiritual shifts occur. But Islam never calls for fear-based living. Instead, encourages understanding, doing things for reasons rooted in wisdom, not superstition. Logic, on the other hand, allows us to see the practical sense behind traditional advice. In older times, homes were lit by lanterns or candles. Sweeping at night could mean accidentally losing small items in the dark or stirring up dust that affected health. So, what began as a precaution later evolved into a cultural reminder to avoid unnecessary activity during hours meant for rest and reflection. Respect for tradition bridges the two. It honors the wisdom of the past while allowing us to filter it through the lens of Islamic knowledge. Completely rejecting cultural wisdom disconnects us from our roots, while blindly following it without understanding can lead to confusion or superstition. The balanced Muslim takes the middle way. Appreciate the advice, seek the meaning, and follow what aligns with faith and reason. The Prophet beautifully summarized this mindset when he said, "Wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever he finds it, he has the right to take it." Tirmidhi 26087, this means that truth and wisdom can be found anywhere in revelation, in tradition, or in lived experience. The believer recognizes it, embraces it, and applies it with understanding. So, the next time you hear an old saying, like avoiding sweeping at night, pause before dismissing it. Ask what wisdom might be hidden here. Perhaps it's a reminder to rest, to protect one's blessings, or to live with awareness of Allah even in small things. Balancing faith, logic, and tradition doesn't just preserve our culture, it strengthens our connection to Allah. Because true Islam is not about extremes. It's about living with intention, gratitude, and understanding in every moment, even when holding a broom.